Video games, as engaging and artistic as they are still a business. And without money, you can't have a business. Hey everyone, I'm Ricky with WatchMojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 games that lost publishers millions. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at games that were financial disasters for their respective publishers. Whether they be major games with a pop culture presence or smaller games just trying to make a name for themselves, they all fell short and caused some serious damage on the way down.
What do you mean? Forget about the cars.
You're no good to me now, Gator. You're a dead man.
Number 10. Aliens Colonial Marines. So much anticipation, so little gain for public and developer alike. From the troubled and controversy-laden launch of Gearbox Software's Aliens Colonial Marines, there emerged rather alarming details about the production budget.
Think you see the thing. Don't think. Just shoot.
Reports abounded of the developers racking up significant costs and needing to outsource the game, coupled with allegations that Gearbox had misused funds from publisher Sega meant to go towards Colonial Marines. Supposedly, the game didn't even earn back its budget, with Gearbox co-founder Randy Pitchford claiming to have lost $10 million of his own money in the process.
My God, we are so screwed.
Number 9. Overkills The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead may have been a successful venture for Telltale, at least until they went belly up. But for publisher Starbreeze Publishing, their venture was an absolute disaster. Overkill Software's take on The Walking Dead was a co-op first-person shooter that was plagued with a troubled development, including the cancellation of its PS4 and Xbox One ports.
Shit!
But things didn't fare better on the PC, as technical problems and missing features led to the game earning only an abysmal $3.4 million in revenue on Steam. And in comparison, the rights to the Walking Dead license was $10 million on its own. This forced Starbreeze to go into administration and its board to be reshuffled.
I'm hurt. You'll be fine!
Number 8. APB AllPoints Bulletin. How can something with substantial monetary backing and grounding in previously successful open-world design go so wrong? It's a question that many people asked following the failure of APB AllPoints Bulletin, an ambitious cops vs. crooks MMO from real-time worlds. Its game budget having risen past the $100 million threshold, what APB needed was a large, satisfying player base and careful management of resources. Instead, the launch period was rife with technical shortcomings and limited engagement from people, leading to the game's slow shutdown alongside the impending closure of real-time. APB would eventually be purchased for a fraction of the original development cost and relaunched as a free-to-play game.
Whoa! Look out!
Number 7. Driver 3.
Did you come alone?
No. I brought one of these.
No amount of driving skills can save you from poor game sales, that's for certain. Driver 3 spent over 3 years in development, racking up costs in the tens of millions on both production and marketing fronts. Coupled with fees tied to printing and shipping game discs to retailers, these costs made it so that Driver 3 publisher Atari had a lot to lose should their product falter.
It's half.
And falter it seemingly did. Critics considered the game middling fare at best, with Atari's fiscal report for the year suggesting poorer than anticipated sales. In the years to follow, layoffs ensued, while the Driver franchise and developer Reflections Interactive were both sold off, likely leaving a bitter taste behind.
Mistake.
Number 6. Psychonauts.
One time, I made someone's head explode.
When it hit shelves in April 2005, Double Fine Productions' inaugural title Psychonauts seemed like a classic in the making. Its focus on exploring the eccentric dreamscapes of various characters was novel, its writing sharp and layered with emotional nuance, and its tone a careful balance between heartfelt drama and offbeat humor.
They said your psyche was shattered, that you lost your mind. But you seem fine to me.
Yes, when I'm down here.
Yet, in spite of widespread praise, the game still faltered when it came to unit sales, with publisher Majesco going for a profit of about $18 million to a loss of the same amount by year's end. With its budget said to have risen past $11 million, Psychonauts is a prime case study for how critical acclaim doesn't always translate to big sales.
I'm worried it's gonna happen to the others if we don't get to the bottom of this quick.
Number 5. Daikatana. Unrestrained ambition, sloppy business practices, questionable use of resources, so much went wrong here. As a studio, Ion Storm held great promise when it set up shop in late 1996, commencing work almost immediately on a game project that looked set to break new ground in narrative and audiovisual design. This game, Daikatana, would spend just over 3 years in development limbo and rack up a bill of more than $40 million, getting bogged down in the behind-the-scenes turmoil. We'd like to say that Ion Storm overcame the odds to launch their game in style, but alas, Daikatana proved devastatingly costly to Ion Storm and their owner, Eidos. Number 4. Too Human.
I can't even see the bottom. You will if you don't shut up, Private.
So much for those trilogy plans. First conceived as a property for the Sony PlayStation, Too Human spent about a decade shuffled from console to console and undergoing multiple shifts in design. Its developer Silicon Knights would accrue a budget of between $60 and $100 million, a portion of which was contributed by final publisher Microsoft Game Studios. With hype appearing to have been cultivated thanks to the game's widely played demo, Too Human launched in 2008 and fell flat on its face. Selling under 1 million copies, the game was eventually pulled from digital and physical storefronts per a court order, with Silicon Knights closing up shop in 2014.
It's a good day to die.
You always say that.
It always is.
Number 3. Homefront.
Hide back here. We'll come and get you after everything settles down.
A lot was already going wrong for THQ, but this failure definitely didn't help matters. Known for having had a troubled production cycle, including sloppy management and misuse of funds, Chaos Studios' Homefront went to retail in need of support.
Hopper, now! Yeah. Come on, Hopper, get up! They're coming!
Funny enough, it managed to sell approximately 1 million copies in the first week, despite ambivalence from much of the press. However, THQ would still end up losing millions of dollars and watching their stock drop, further pushing them toward their eventual bankruptcy come 2013. Worse still, the relatively poor performance of Homefront would lead to Chaos Studios being shut down that same year.
There, everyone's dead. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I am.
Number 2. PacMan, Atari 2600 version. Once upon a time, Atari managed to attain quite the seemingly profitable deal: permission to distribute Namco's arcade titles for Atari-branded systems. To that end, they tasked lone designer Todd Fry with porting PacMan to the 2600 console, getting it onto store shelves in March 1982. Initially, sales seemed to suggest folks were quite pleased with the game, but not for long. Widely derided for its glitches and bizarre alterations to the core gameplay, Atari's PacMan would soon find itself rejected by the public at large. Atari themselves would report more than $500 million in losses come 1983, having been stuck with millions of unsold or refunded copies of the game. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions.
Let's see. You discovered an ancient tomb, moved those mirror things around, and got steamrolled by a 1,000-year-old reptile. Did I leave anything out?
Number 1. Shenmue and Shenmue 2.
Hey, I've got a pair of jeans that would be perfect for you. Wanna try some on?
No thanks. Maybe next time.
Sometimes, even important groundbreaking works can also be disastrous flops. Case in point, Shenmue was built as a forward-looking game that's remembered as the foundation for much of the open-world genre. It's also known to have cost at least 47 million USD to produce, which it failed to recoup upon release despite the sale of more than 1 million copies.
You know, man, guys like that almost always look around without buying anything.
Shenmue 2, meanwhile, was developed for significantly less money, yet still struggled in terms of sales. Shenmue couldn't bolster Sega's low Dreamcast sales, and the lack of existing Dreamcast owners made financial profitability a pipe dream for the franchise.
Ah, I understand you've gone through a lot.
It's never fun to see a game fail, which is why everybody should support developers, both big and small, who work so hard to bring us quality experiences. Guys, thank you for tuning in and watching, and if you like this list, we got a bunch of other lists that are just as good right over here.